for the class. So maybe you could just say the materials that you should have again.
Sure. Actually, this is a great opportunity. Does someone want to share their materials? Anybody want to share their materials so that Shirin and I have a different video besides us? Or someone could narrate our tables. We could do something like that. But oops. Thanks for letting me know, Shirin.
Yeah.
Okay, so any volunteers, or I could do it?
I can help you if you want, Riz.
Okay, cool. Do you want me to pull it out of the box and then you could just talk?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let me repackage. And then I just want to double check. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, yes. Cool. I'm a little far from my computer, so I just want to double check. Okay, so what do you think, Anna? Should I close the box and everything?
Sure, yeah, we can start over briefly.
Let's do it from the beginning so we have a cool video of the box that you opened. And so I could go based on what you say. Yeah?
Sure. Okay. So yeah, feel free to open your cyanotype kit. Thank you, Riz. And inside we have first a puppy pad, which is actually just a pad to put on your surface. So in case you spill some chemicals, it can soak up anything that spills. And what's nice is on the other side, like any puppy pad, it doesn't seep through. So it'll soak up everything so that your surface is clean when you're all done. And then you have, actually, I don't see what that is. Paper towels. Paper towels, yes. And you have a couple of foam brushes for your chemistry. And then you have a couple of different cups to mix your chemistry. And then you have a couple of droppers in order to get your chemistry out of the bottles and into the little cups. And then you have a little piece of cardboard with some clips and plexi so that it can hold your materials or your print into place when your cyanotype is exposing. And then you have a black bag with your chemicals inside. Let's see what's inside there. Each little bottle is actually wrapped in some bubble wrap so that they don't clink together for safety. And then you have one bottle that's part A and one that's part B. Part A is actually called potassium ferric nide or something. And then part B is ferric ammonium citrate.
Very sciencey words.
Yeah, but I don't know how to pronounce.
So I did want to add, I know the words sound probably scary. There is a cyanide in it, but it is a very low amount of cyanide that is not harmful when mixed in the solution that I provided you. So the level in which it's in there is not dangerous. It could go down. It could go down the sink, and that yeah. If anybody has an allergy, definitely let me know. And if at any point, remember this is light sensitive, so you might want to put on gloves before we open the bottle, right? And so we're not there yet, but once we open the bottle, you might want to make sure that you have gloves on just in case. Let's see, what else? Oh, I have these two, Anna, sorry. Gloves?
Yes, gloves you have in the box. And then of course, permanent marker so we can draw, and a wooden stick to mix the chemicals. Yeah.
And then there are, this workshop series is a 5-week workshop series. So what you'll see is 5 different sheet protectors that have different materials in it. And what you're looking for is the one that says Cyanotype kit. So what you should see in the Cyanotype kit sheet protector is a couple of sheets of watercolor paper, and then also a couple of transparencies, which we will talk about how to print. And then I think that was great, Anna. I think the only thing I left out was I also included a pencil. In a group setting, we always want people to make sure that their papers have their name, but we're all working independently today. But sometimes, you know, when you do the coding, everybody's paper looks the same. So we just want to make sure, yeah, that it just doesn't get mixed up. And so I think I'd like to do two things. So the first thing, before we go to an image on the computer, I think it would be great if we could do the coding of the chemistry. So actually, really quick, I'm going to close my window. I realize I have it open. Great. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my gloves. Sorry, I was looking at my computer, which screen I'm on. So I'm going to put on my gloves, and I'm also actually going to take out my paper. So I had mentioned earlier that the chemistry that we're using, it's not light sensitive until you add both of them together. So what we're going to do is, it doesn't take much chemistry, but I'll let you decide how much you want to mix. These little cups, the smallest amount is 7.5 milliliters. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put equal parts of part A and part B. I'll let you decide if you want to mix more or less. I'm only going to mix enough for 1 or 2 pieces of paper right now. So I'm going to go ahead and start unscrewing the chemistry bottles, and I'm going to put I'm going to measure 7.5 milliliters, or actually you could even pour. So I have 7.5 milliliters of part A, and then I have 7.5 milliliters of part B. I'm sorry, part A. And what you'll see is that part A looks a little bit more greenish blue. And then B looks yellow, like I say highlighter, but kids are always like, Riz, it looks like B. So it's like very yellow. So you'll see one solution that's yellow and one solution that's kind of green, right? And so I'll hold these up so that you can see a little bit better. One solution is green, more green. Uh-oh, the camera stopped. Ow. Let's see. Sorry, my mom was trying to call me. Cool, so I will put my gloves back on. Okay, so I have my piece of paper. I'm gonna grab just one. On the back, if I was in a group, right, I would write my name on the back of it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and mix the 2 cups together. Now we're working with light sensitive chemistry. And then I'm gonna grab my brush. And when I put my brush in the cup, I wanna make sure the foam brush, when you're using a new foam brush, it actually has some kind of resistance to moisture. And so when I put it in there, I actually like let it soak a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna coat the paper, and I usually go vertical, and then I also go horizontal, just to make sure that the paper is getting coated evenly. Remember that any area that you coat is becoming light sensitive, so you can decide what are the borders gonna look like, right? You can make the borders look really clean, or you can make it really messy. But the main thing is you just want to make sure that, yeah, you get the chemistry on the paper. So I'm going up and down, and then I'm going to do left and right. And what you should see is it looks very close to like a highlighter. And let us know if you're having any challenges. And then I think for the demo, I might just do 2 sheets because I still have some paper, or I still have some chemistry in my cup. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll write again my name. And then I'm going to dip my brush again. Left to right. And then up and down. And the paper that I included in the box is a watercolor paper. And the reason why I like watercolor paper is because it's meant to withhold and withstand lots of moisture. And so I will let you know, cyanotype actually could work on any kind of paper or material that's porous. It'll even work on your skin, right? It could work on fabric. So cyanotype is pretty universal, but I like to use paper. One, because it's cheaper, right? And also it gives me time to experiment. So once your paper is coated, we're gonna let it dry. So I actually have you can't see this in my room, but I have a fan. So yeah, take your time. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually move to the computer so I can talk to you about prepping a negative. So take your time to do the coating. And I'm gonna just make my way over to the computer. So I like how, if you notice in Shirin went straight to the edge. If you look at mine, or I could hold mine up, I leave a little bit of a border. What I've also seen in the past is people have used painter's tape. So painter's tape, you could like mask areas of your paper if you want the edges to be super clean. Yeah, this is great. And while you're coating, I'm going to pull up a photo that I can use for my demo. I'm also going to clean my desktop for a second. Cool, I found a good one. Has anybody done something similar to cyanotype before? See some nods. Ooh, Marisa, I like how you have your tape out. That's great. Shirin's given thumbs up. Cool. Ooh, look at Anna's. So when you look at Anna's, she has like this kind of feathery, like a feathery look on the edges, right? They're not completely straight. That's great. And then Shirin's doing something new, a diptych. So she's got like 2 rectangles on one piece of paper. That's interesting. Very cool. And then something just to know is that the more chemistry that's on your paper, there's a different results that you can get. If you coat your paper more than once, there's a potential for you to have even richer blues because there's more chemistry soaked into the paper. But the challenge of that is that the paper takes longer to dry. And so there's always a give and take. When you're doing cyanotypes, you definitely want, oh, there's a new person, you definitely want your paper to end up being dry. So the chemistry, when it's mixed together, it's light sensitive. But if you want the image to stay on the paper has to be dry, because if the chemistry doesn't dry, it's basically not fixed. So you'll experience this, and it's kind of cool if anybody wants to try it, is that if the chemistry is wet, the photo will just go down with the water. So this one time I covered this big, huge canvas, and the exposure looked beautiful. And then I put it under the sink, and I was like, ah! It just like went with the water, completely slid off. So, so yeah, if it's about an experience, or if you want to videotape it, it could be very cool. But if you want that image to stay on the paper, you got to make sure it's dry. You could use a hair dryer if you want to. If you do, I recommend a cold setting. So not the heat. The heat will actually expose the chemistry. So if you do use a hair dryer, just make sure that it's on cool. Ooh, Shirin's getting all fancy. So now she has a little paper bag. And just so if anybody's interested, so this is the cheapest way to do cyanotype. I actually bought the chemistry from a wholesaler, and what I can do later is actually show you the raw chemistry if anyone's interested. But you can on Amazon purchase a kit, and you could also purchase pre-coated materials. And so you could buy like a scarf that's already coated, and you just put the negative, or however you want to do it, or a t-shirt. Shirin's showing you the Jacquard brand. And so it's about $13, $14. And Shirin, can you read how many ounces that is? Just because I know it's kind of hard to see on the computer. Based off of, yeah.
Oh, it's 1.9 ounces, and then the other one has 0.8 ounces. But the thing is, let me tell you, it doesn't come full of the liquid. It just has the powder in each one. And then it tells you to fill it with water to the top and then shake it. And then you have to let it sit for 4 hours before you use it. So that's something good to know about the cyanotype kit. You're not going to start using it the second you get it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Shirin. I could offer several links depending on the volume in which you want to use cyanotype. And so like I said, since I'm a teacher and I use it for so many classes, I literally buy the raw chemistry by the pounds. And so yeah, I just divvy that up for the students. I feel like it's cheaper. But yeah, if you want something for your own, I could let you know like all the different varieties of cyanotype materials and stuff like that you could buy. There's so much out there. It's very popular with youth and science classes. So while everybody's coding, please feel free, like take your time. I just wanted to go through the process of making a digital negative. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share screen, and I'm just gonna do my desktop. So I think it's pretty clean. But I just wanted to, this is the image that I'm gonna use for the demo. So actually, let me put some of this other stuff away. Anybody that teaches, I have a folder where I just dump everything so that it's just not in the way. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this photo in Photoshop. And if you don't have Photoshop, we could talk about alternatives. There's a free photo program called GIMP. I actually learned from Beto, and you could also do it on your phone. So however we do the negative, it'll be based on the equipment that is available to us. So I got this is a photo that one of my students took. You could actually see her face a little bit, like right here. So this is a long exposure. And so what I want to do, I thought this was like a cool image. Shirin had mentioned when we're talking about images to look for, she mentioned the subject of time. And so when she said time, I thought like, well, one, I missed this time when I was with my students in the classroom. And two, we talked about long exposure in our other class. And so just the idea of all of these lines and how they're being recorded is really interesting to me. But yeah, the point for us right now is to make sure that we create our negative. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is under image and mode. Well, there's a couple different ways actually. Under image and mode, you could go to grayscale. So that's one way. It'll discard the color information, right? I'm gonna undo that so that I could also show you in the control panel. So here where it says adjustments, there is a button that's called black and white adjustment layer. So if I click on that, it'll automatically turn my image to black and white. And what's cool is, depending on what tones are in your image, is that you could actually pick between all the different color spectrums, which areas you'd like to lighten and darken, right? And so when you do grayscale, it actually doesn't offer you that. And so, yeah, this is a space for you to make a little bit, to do some corrections, right? When I'm looking for a cyanotype image, people will ask me like, what should the negative look like? And for me, the negative has, well, actually, let me take, I was going to say high contrast. So the reason why I like high contrast images is because the image is very blue and very white, right? But if you want your image to look a little softer, you could have more of a grayscale image, and then you'll get less contrast, right? A softer kind of blue. So I'm looking at my image right now, and before I flip it, there's just like this right here. I'd love to make it a little bit darker. So what I'm gonna do is go into my dodging and burning tools. And I'm a darkroom person, so I'm very used to like, I just want to like make this corner like a little bit, make this corner like a little bit darker, so these lines stand out a little bit more. We're in Photoshop too, so it's like I could even use black to just like get some of this darker. So I know some of you are multi talented, and not all you do other things than photos, so make sure you bring that stuff into the classroom. But I'm feeling pretty happy. Not that last one. I'm feeling pretty happy with my image now. And so the last thing that I would do is flip it to a negative. So I'm going to go to image, and then to adjustment, and then to invert. You could also press open Apple I, and what you'll get is a digital negative, right? And so this is the image that I would print. So you could print this, again, I had the transparencies that I provided are on inkjet. There is transparencies for all different kinds of printers. My printer at home is actually a laser, so I have a laser transparency, but I'm gonna go ahead and print this. So I'm gonna print. I am going to make sure that I'm scaling to media, and then I'm going to rotate. You know what? Actually, I just realized one thing that I didn't do. Let me cancel. One thing that I didn't do is in Cyanotype, we're doing a contact sheet process, which means the photo that you print has to be like, if you have a certain size photo that you want, so in this case, my paper is 5x7, I would actually have to change my image to 5x7. So there is no enlargement or minimizing process here. You have to make sure that the image is the size that you want it. So for height, I'm gonna do 5, and it's giving me just a little, actually, let me do the opposite. So width is 7, and I'm okay with my negative being slightly too big, but I just wanna make sure that it covers the whole paper, right? And so I'm gonna hit okay. And then I'm going to print. So if I go to print and I look at my transparency here, like on 11 by 8.5, we'll see that my image is only appearing as 5x7 now. So I'm gonna hit print. and then I'll be ready to go back to the table here. Yeah, does anybody?
And Riz,
yeah, what's up?
One thing is to also flip your image if you want it to look the same way as you're seeing it on your screen, because you're going to put it down, right?
Yeah,
like if you print words or whatever, because if you put the ink side of your transparency down, the ink might smear.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, and so depending. Okay. The transparency just made like a really crazy sound on my printer. Yeah, so Shirin makes a great point depending on what kind of transparency you have. So I do believe the transparency paper that I gave you, it's not like there's a better side to expose it on, if that makes sense, with the ink side up. And so Shirin made a good point. You want to make sure that you flip the image. So I could also, I could go back to Photoshop really quick.
And also to answer Marisa, I would print it as black and white and not leave it as color.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So I'm going to hop back into Photoshop really quick and just show you. Okay, so this is my image. It's turned into black and white. It's been inverted. And then what you want to go to is image rotation, and then flip. You could choose one, flip horizontal or flip vertical. Either way, it will flip it for you. And so when you do your contact print, it'll come out right side up or readable, right? So yeah. The other options too is if you don't want to use an image, that you're also welcome to do a drawing using the permanent marker. And the other thing that you could do is actually put objects directly onto your piece of paper. So if you have images, that's what's called a photogram. So yeah, let me double check. I'm gonna go back to my desk and let's start arranging our materials to make our first exposure. So let me change my camera. Okay, so this was the print that just came out of my printer. My paper's feeling pretty dry. Okay, so what I'm looking for is, we would call this a contact printer. So I'm gonna take off the clips. And I left the plastic on the plexi just to keep it fresh, but to make a clean exposure, I would go ahead and like remove this like film. Like a film, a clear plastic film protecting your plexi. Watch out for the edges. The plexi is a little sharp. So yeah, just make sure you're careful. And what you should find is it's a pretty clean, nice, clear piece of plexi. Can you see my camera? Okay, good. You can see this, yes? Okay, there we go. Sorry, too many squares. So what we're looking for is the cardboard, and then you want to put the paper with the chemistry side up. And then this is where you get to have the choice of, do you want to put an object? Do you want to put your negative? Or would you like to take a transparency and draw something with a permanent marker, right? I've done cyanotype a lot, so something that I'd like to share if it becomes interesting to you is I love the idea of masking. So I have this transparency, it just has a circle on it. But if I wanted to do my photo, for example, and I wanted to have a circle shape, I just have these like random shapes. I have another one here that has like 2 circles. I just started collecting these because I thought, wow, what a cool way to start creating textures. Another thing that I did was I also just have these transparencies of like pictures of fabric. And actually, this makes me think of Shirin. So I took pictures of fabric, and now I can layer these with photographs so that it's kind of like a filter on Instagram, right? Except old school. So this is like an actual real filter that could be like superimposed on the photograph that I created. I think I'm gonna just I think there's a lot of stuff going on in this photo, so I think I'm gonna just leave it the way that it is. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is put the piece of plexi right on top. Right. I'm seeing now that my negative is really big and it might be hard for me to clip it together. So actually what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut my negative. Let me grab a scissor. So you don't have to trim it, but I really want to walk out with the clip on. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim the edges close enough so that I can get the clip around all of the materials. And
I have a question.
Sure.
On the transparency, are you putting the ink side up or down?
Good question. I'm putting the ink side up.
Okay, great.
It may run. So I think it's good for the ink to be for it to face up. Yeah. So I have I call it like a cyanotype sandwich. So I have my cardboard, I have my paper with the chemistry up, I have my transparency with my photo with the ink side up, and then I have my piece of plexiglass to just keep it all together, and then I'm putting these little pins now on it to keep everything together and not moving, right? And at this point, we're ready to go out to make an exposure. So I'm actually going to take my phone with me so that you can see what's happening in real time, and we will go to my backyard. But yeah, this is my cyanotype. So let's go ahead and take our way outside.
Oh, sorry. Why do we need a plexiglass again?
Whoops, what did you say, Eileen?
Oh, why do we need to have the plexiglass?
Actually, so that's a good question. We only really need the plexiglass if you're using a negative. So the plexiglass keeps the negative. I'm like chasing the light a little bit. Let's see if we can get anything here. The plexiglass keeps the negative flush to the paper. So that helps keep the negative clear. Or I'm sorry, the image clear. If clarity is not an issue, you definitely don't need the plexi. And if you wanted to do this bigger, you would need like a bigger piece of glass. And then I see Anna sent a message. I'm on my phone right now, so it's hard for me to check the chat.
I was just gonna say, you could
I might go
for materials like flowers or leaves if you need them to be flush to the paper and you want to hold them down so they don't blow away.
Yeah.
You could use the plexiglass for that as well.
So I don't know where you are in San Diego, but the sun is starting to run out on me, but I looked for the shadows. So if there's shadows, there's light, right? So I see on this fence that I'm getting a little bit of light. So I'm going to start chasing this light here. And I'm just going to start, I'm trying to find the light. And so what I could see is that this yellow highlighter is not so yellow anymore. It's getting a little bit darker. I didn't think about the timing of our class, but my hope is that this starts to get exposed and turn blue. So theoretically, that's what should happen. I don't know if we miss the time, but if that is the case, That's why there's a black bag in your box, so that you could put the paper in the black bag and make the exposure at a different time if you needed to. So I'm seeing a little bit of blue, but really not as much as I want. And then Beto made a really good point just right now, is a black light would really work, because the black light is UV. So my experience, depending on the wattage, is that it usually takes, nothing beats the sun, right? So it takes a little bit longer, but it definitely would work. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't think about the time of day, but this is the only workshop out of the 5 where we actually really rely on the light. So is anybody else's changing? I'm just curious. What I might do is I'm gonna leave it here in the backyard and then go back to my table and see. Darn, I wish I had like a clip that I could like clip it to this fence. This is like the only, you can see it's like the only little bit of light that's here. So actually I'm gonna lean it right a little bit right there. Okay, so I'm gonna flip my camera around and then I'm gonna make my way back to the office. But yeah, I'm interested. I'd love to see the different points of view where everybody is. Like Janelle still has some light. Looks like Marisa has some light. Ah, okay. She's gonna produce some of her own light. So yeah, if we don't have enough sun right now, I apologize about that. I'm just realizing I didn't even think about the time of day. Is that, oh yeah, in Beto's neighborhood, yeah. Yes, so I'm totally sorry about that. I didn't even think about the timing. And so if we need to, we could do the exposure. Oops. We could do the exposure in the morning if you have it coated and it's all prepped. And then I would still like love to see it though. I'm sad that this is like the funnest part of this demo. But yeah, I would like love to see. Marisa, are you seeing any change? It should be a pretty deep indigo, pretty deep indigo blue. I think Marisa is wearing a blue shirt and it's supposed to be super dark like that.
And how long would you say it probably takes if you're doing it in low sunlight versus like right at noon, at high noon with a really strong sun? Does it take like 1 minute or 10 minutes, you think?
Yeah. So Shirin brings up a good question, right? So you could consider this is just like how you make the exposure in your camera, right? You're switching the aperture, you're switching the shutter speed to make sure that the surface of your digital sensor is receiving enough light. And so with the sun, so the sun is it's a variable, right? We don't know in what parts of the town you are, if there's clouds, or maybe, there's something obstructing the sun from you. And so it would be hard to give you a hard number, but I could give you an estimate. So, so I would say at noon, high bright sunlight, 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops, you're like good. If it's a little bit, normal, like I would describe it as just like not super hot weather, like when I'm wearing like normal like my normal outfit kind of and I'm not stressing on like, oh my gosh, like all these layers. 5 minutes, yeah. And then if it's overcast, it's probably actually not even a good day to do cyanotype at all. But if you had to, you could probably get an exposure in like 10 minutes, 12 minutes if it was overcast. But I let you know right now, if it's sunny, you'll start seeing in the cyanotype world, if it's sunny, people are out. So there is a Facebook group, and they celebrate World Cyanotype Day. And so I love watching just like on the daily, like how many people are making cyanotypes like in the world. So yeah, if you end up really liking it, that's a really cool Facebook
group to join just to see, like, you'll see people doing it on their curtains and on their clothes and stuff like that. So it is a really super cool material. Yeah.
Also, another quick comment that I thought of was a lot of times when we're in our homes, we find old negatives that our families have collected, and maybe we don't want to go develop them, or you just want to see what those negatives are. Cyanotype is a great way to just like put the negatives down, protected, maybe with something in between, like the plexiglass in below and on top of your
The transparency could work really well for that as well.
yeah, or just like scanning them or something. But anyway, you could just quickly expose them and make a contact sheet of like negatives that you find in your house. I mean, that's also a cool thing to think about.
Yeah, thanks, Shirin. So there's the 3 solutions. You could draw, you could print a negative, or you could use actual 3-dimensional objects to do the exposure. Yeah.
And I think there's also this cool history about cyanotypes, right, Riz, of how cyanotype was invented. I can't remember her name now. I think she was a female scientist, and she was going out into the field. Sorry, are you saying it?
Anybody know it? I think Janelle said it.
Sorry if I missed that earlier.
Yeah, no. It's so Anna Atkins is known as actually, I would say largely unknown, but should be known as one of the first female photographers. And so she was a botanist. So before she became a photographer, she actually used to make illustrations of like shells. If you've ever seen in very old science books, illustrations as opposed to photos, and that's what Anna did, right? And then she realized, like, hey, these might not be accurate. Like, we need real accurate documentation of these things that are in our world. And so she made her first book of all exactly. There you go, Jonathan. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful cyanotypes, and she literally made our first science book. So a lot of people don't know her, and I love to give her credit for that. She studied under, his name is Sir John Herschel in 1834. And he was the guy that made Fixer. So if you've been in the dark room before and you know the smell of Fixer, you could thank Sir John Herschel. He made this chemistry to help us bring photos out of the dark room, right? Oh, Marissa's mentioning, oh wait, I use the laser transparency on inkjet and the ink doesn't dry. Ooh, interesting. Marissa, you strike me as someone that's very experimental. So I would also think maybe take advantage of the running. You know, maybe you want to wet your finger and like on your transparency and do something, yeah, that you could manipulate your photos. And so yeah, I'm just getting a guess because I saw your studio. I was like, I think she's the kind of person that's like willing to play. So I think that's cool. It wasn't what we had planned, but it makes a cool effect. You could even take your marker and add a little bit more to that, however you want to do it. And then for a film negative, you do have to enlarge it, Eileen. So if you could scan it and then bring it into Photoshop and then just enlarge it to whatever size that you want. You don't have to enlarge it if you're okay with a small photo. So if you want to have like these really small, tiny cyanotypes, then yeah, you could just contact print them right away. Cool. Is there anybody? I think we totally missed the light, huh? We totally did. Did anybody get anything? Shirin's is like kind of has like a teal, yeah, it's like kind of teal.
Oh, I didn't try it yet, but I just wanted to show that I'm ready to go for it.
Oh, okay. Let me.
I have some wrestlers on the floor.
Oh yeah, cool. So this is Anna. Anna, you're an OB, right? So
yeah, but I made this like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just want to show like an example of one.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're my saving grace here. So this is an example of an object, right? Anna, do you want to explain like how you actually?
Yeah, I went outside in my front yard and I found these like little flowers, different kinds of flowers, and I just put them under the plexiglass and let it sit. And it was sunny that day. I think this was like less than 5 minutes. It was exposed. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's this very deep cyan, right? So that's what why it's called cyanotype. It's this blue. And then also it's a really cheap printing process. And so that's the other reason why you'll see blueprints. So these big, massive drawings when people were trying to sell buildings or sell plans for buildings. It's not cheap. So we're all photographers. You want to print a really big photo that's like 3 feet by 5 feet. You better be ready to pay up, right? So that's why people started doing blueprints using cyanotype, because it was so cheap. You could just coat this whole thing, make one transparency, you know, from the drawing, and then over and over again, they just make these repetitive copies of their drawing, right? And that was a cheap, easy, fast way for people to. Now that I'm thinking about it, my elementary school looks like 10 other elementary schools, so. That might be one of the reasons why, because they sold those blueprints right multiple times. But yeah, it's a really fun process, and I'm just curious. Oh, I like Marisa. We're getting a little bit of the process here on your end. That's cool. I'm curious. What does everybody think? Ooh. I don't know where you are, Marisa, but I want to go to your house.
That's a really creative use. She's using a picture frame to hold her transparency
There you
to the
go.
cyanotype. So
yeah, perfect. So anyone go to the dollar store, there's like a ton of contact printers there, right? If you want an 8x10, yep. I think I've even seen some that go to 11 by 14 at the dollar store. So if you're looking for cheap solutions, I'm all about that. Let me know. We can make a whole photo lesson at the 99-cent store. I'm down with that.
I can help. I worked there before.
Yeah, and Betta's he's my consultant. He could tell you where to find it, exactly where you need to go.
Aisle 10, aisle 10.
So cool. I look at Shirin, she's just going. So Shirin, you're gonna just coat a bunch of stuff and then expose on a different day?
yeah, yes, I'm gonna just get it ready, and then I can do a bunch. I was actually thinking about going on a road trip at some point, and then if I keep them all in a black bag, I can just pull one out for every destination I go to, and maybe use the materials at that point in land, like whatever is on the land at that time, like what are the flowers, what are the rocks, whatever, and like do a little documentation with cyanotype in the sun there. I thought it could be a little fun project.
Yeah, it's kind of like Hannah Atkins on the road.
Yeah.
Cool.
Gotta use up my chemistry.
I'm gonna grab the piece of paper that tells us what the demo is for next week. And then Jonathan, I'll make sure to email this to you. I'm sorry I didn't include it in the box. And so October 27, the next one is fabric transfer. And so I provided the transfer paper and what we would need. I just realized I didn't give you fabric, but if everyone could find something that they're willing to iron an image on, I will show you how to do this image transfer. And then this paper also requires inkjet. So if you are interested, you could also print it ahead of time. The only thing that you should know about the fabric transfer is it's similar to the cyanotype in that you have to flip your image. So
yes, and you're gonna need.
Oh,
are we doing the transfer artist paper one?
I don't have that one. I just have the one that's the iron. But I could also yeah.
Oh, iron on? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It's an iron.
Wait, am I doing that one or are you doing that one?
I was gonna do this one. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I could do this one. Yeah, I could do any of them, Shirin. So whichever ones you want to do, you could do them, and then I'll do the other ones.
Wait, Riz and Shirin, how do you rinse the paper after it's exposed?
Oh, yes, thank you, Anna. That's great. So I totally skipped the last part. I'm sorry, because we didn't expose our images. But so what will happen is after you expose your images And you could take it apart from your little contact sheet sandwich, right? And so you could take off the plexi, the clips, and the cardboard. And what you should see is the shadow of your negative imposed on that cyanotype. And you want to make sure, one, also that the paper is dry. So if you need to, even after it's exposed, you could hit the paper with a hair dryer if you need to. But after that, you could do one of two things. You could run it under the sink, like while the water's running, and just kind of do this like rinsing action. If you have a tray where you could submerge the print, that would also work well as well. Yeah. And the goal is to make the paper go back to white. So if you
And
oh yeah, go ahead.
Also a really cool tip is that after you rinse it, if you have it in a tray, put some hydrogen peroxide on your image and you're instantly going to see your image get darker. Like the blues are going to be more vibrant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you have, I know hydrogen, like people are like hydrogen peroxide. I'm like, yeah, you know, when you have your a scratch on your knee. So there you go. Janelle has a bottle.
You ready?
Yeah, that's great. It's a really cheap, again, dollar store, 99-cent store. You can get hydrogen peroxide. Exactly. Ooh, Marisa, yeah, I need to know you better. I like that she has it on a spray gun. I love that. Another thing that I've also done is dipping. So if I have a solution that has hydrogen peroxide, I'll like dip only half my photo, you know, so it depends what the photo is, but there's lots of different ways that you could play with it. Another thing that I've done is, everyone remember rubber cement? That was like I loved playing with that when I was in high school for some reason. I was in yearbook and we always had a ton of rubber cement around. And you could mask parts of your photo with the rubber cement. And then when you put it in the solution of hydrogen peroxide, the rubber cement areas will not change. Yeah, so many cool things that you can do with the process. It's just the beginning today. So yeah, does anybody, I'm sorry, we're 2 minutes over. I just realized, does anybody have any questions?
We'll be able to access this video at any time, right?
Yeah, and so what I'm gonna do, just to make it available right away, is as soon as it publishes on Zoom, I'll put it live via Canvas, and then I'm gonna have my editor edit it, and then when that is like the nicer version is available, I'll substitute this video. But I'll go ahead and put this one straight up so that people can see it right away. Oh, Shirin's getting all crazy. Here, get the circles.
I'm actually not going to be able to do this until I'm getting ready to leave out of town tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go shoot infrared up in Owens Valley for the next 4 or 5 days.
So I don't know. It sounds like we need to hang out with Jonathan too. We're gonna start hanging out with everybody. We want to go where you guys are going. But yeah, I would love to see the images from that, Jonathan. And then, like I said, this will be recorded. And then because of the timing, I would love if people could snapshot or take videos like of the process, like of you at home. And I would love to like combine that with the video that we have here. And so, yeah, that would be awesome.
Are you gonna create a discussion board so we can post our stuff?
Yeah, I can do that. That would be really awesome. I would love to see the results and for other people to see, like other people that didn't get to join us today to like see what you made. Yeah. Cool, cool. So no questions, we're good? Everyone got their box, I see. So we will see you next week, October 27th. We're gonna do fabric transfer. Again, oh, I didn't mention iron. So iron, a piece of fabric, any kind, except for, I said any, but I think it's not really like burlap, you know, like very rough fabrics. It won't really work that well. So just a heads up. And I think that's it. Yeah. You got anything for them, Shirin? Any updates?
No, just excited to keep doing these workshops. I feel like it's so much nicer to like get together and work on it and more motivating. So thanks for coming today.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for the suggestions. I totally hear you. So just keep letting me know if you have more suggestions. I'm ready to change the class at any moment's notice to make it more fun and engaging for you. So I appreciate it. And then, yes, we have to figure out, we will put out some kind of contact directory or something and ask people after our class, like, who wants to hang out and go to these. I don't know where you are, but you guys look like you're in like cool places. I don't know where you're doing this photo stuff, but yeah, I want to.
Also, the idea you had last time of like answering the questions in the book and creating a class book.
Yeah, actually, now that we have everybody, what do you think? I know that the book a lot, it's like it's hit or miss. Some people like the book, some people don't like the book. We were talking with Eileen and we were wondering, how about we make our own books? Is anybody interested in that? We could answer the same questions, but we could be in it. I think would be cool. So yeah, as you continue to read that book, maybe you could have in the back of your mind, like, oh, how would I answer this? You know, and I think, yay, Beto, yeah, I'm glad. I would love to have a book that has us, right? I'd buy that. No copying for that one, I'll buy that. So yeah, I really appreciate seeing all of you and I look forward, yeah, to next week. Yeah, very cool, very cool. Thanks everybody, and please email me if you need support, and if there's anything actually missing from the box, also let me know too. I'll make sure to send it. So thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.